Hey, it's Molly. Welcome back as we're going to discuss the third Mars-Pluto opposition, exact April 26, 2025, 9:29 p.m. Eastern Time. And we have a lot to discuss in the energy of this opposition. And so the first thing we need to address is that this is not simply an opposition between Pluto and Mars. No, it is in fact a grand cross with Lilith, Black Moon Lilith at 3 degrees Scorpio, 20 minutes, in an exact square to Pluto, Mars, and opposing the Sun. So we are looking at fixed energy that seeks stability, consistency, reliability. The energy doesn't budge, doesn't move, doesn't compromise. And we're looking at a lot of archetypes of volatility, fear, war, shadow expressions, and emotional intensity. As I was preparing to do this video for you, I was thinking about all the ways there are to discuss this. And so what we're going to do is go through the chart, of course, but also start low and go higher, okay? We're going to move through this energy in a way that acknowledges that this is a very intense energy that can be dangerous, can feel violent, can feel very aggressive. This is an energy that is bringing out fears, shadows, and darkness. And there's an emotional intensification with the Black Moon Lilith energy here in the conversation for the first time. So let's start with the opposition. Mars is at 3 degrees of Leo, 48 minutes, still in retrograde shadow territory. Mars doesn't clear the retrograde shadow until he gets past 6 degrees of Leo. Mars is experiencing the third opposition to Pluto, now at 3 degrees, 48 minutes of Aquarius, the furthest Pluto has been in Aquarius. And basically this Pluto is not moving as there is a station retrograde happening May 4th and 5th. So Pluto is at a standstill, and that means the Pluto energy intensifies. It rumbles the earth, it shakes the ground, and it penetrates into more of our fears, into more of what needs to come up to the surface to be seen, acknowledged, and evolved. That is the main directive, if you will, of this Pluto energy. Pluto is recognizing what needs to be destroyed, where a death is necessary for a rebirth. And so Pluto is the higher octave of Mars. Mars is personal desires, your will, how you move and take action, how you assert yourself and go for your goals, how you step up to get things moving, and where you are motivated to do so, especially in Leo. Mars is now stronger in Leo after 3.5 months in Cancer. So the personal will, desires, and creative force of the Mars in Leo is up against the more powerful Pluto in Aquarius. And this third opposition is bringing up matters that we have been seeing, feeling, struggling with. That's an opposition. Struggling to rectify since early November. Early November was their first opposition at 29 degrees of Cancer, 29 degrees of Capricorn. Then they had their second opposition the beginning of January 3rd, with Mars at 0 and 1 degrees of Leo, Pluto opposing that. There has been a power struggle, control dynamics, fear-based thoughts, energies, expressions occurring within each of us that we are looking to resolve and move forward. But it could feel like you've been in a cage, trapped, stuck. There has not been a release point. And at this third opposition, matters are coming to a head. They're being forced out of us. They're being forced to the surface in some manner. And this energy of Mars, who wants something his way, is coming up against the fact that the only way anything would continue is if it's truly seen in a broader, more expansive consciousness that Pluto wants us to connect with. This Pluto in Aquarius is asking each of us to deep dive into more of our authentic self, into more of our individual energies, to face the fears of what it means to be different, to face the fears of not feeling like you belong, to face the fears of what am I doing here on the planet? What am I contributing? What is my guiding role and purpose in this lifetime? And Pluto wants you to connect with more of that in yourself and to feel strong in who you came here to be. But it's coming up against perhaps the parts of yourself that haven't wanted to change, let go, or evolve, that you've been resisting something. And how I'm seeing this energy is that we've been meeting our own breaking points, and we've been coming up against our own darker fears and shadows that have resided outside of our current self-awareness. This Mars in Leo is about being strong in self. We'll declare or be grandiose about this is who I am, this is what I want, this is what I can do, and I'll do it for myself. There's strong leadership with that Mars in Leo. And Pluto is saying, is it who you really are? And is it coming from a place in yourself that benefits others? Are you supporting others, or are you adding to a destructive force based on ego energies? This can be of highly I was gonna say self-obsessed, self-involved energy. This can be very egoic and doesn't understand how others are feeling energies and what others, which is Aquarius, are perceiving, viewing, or sensing. And there is a need here to evolve through the fears, which is Pluto. So it means facing a part of yourself you didn't want to acknowledge, facing an aspect of your shadow you haven't yet identified, looking at any of the immaturity or inner child patterns that Mars in Leo can activate, and understanding that that's not where we're going. This Mars is actually on the losing end. And Pluto is the collective consciousness, people seeing things for what they are, people challenging the programming, stories, or messages that have been widespread. The people of Aquarius energy looking at the undercurrents, looking at what hasn't been said, getting to the heart of matters, getting to the deeper truth that maybe hasn't been spoken yet, but they're feeling and sensing it. So the collective consciousness is rising by challenging those who think they are supreme or above it all, those who think they're untouchable or that they can do what they want without consequences or ramifications. And so this is what is moving within the collective, and it's intensified here. So both the planets square the sun in Taurus, which started April 19th, as the sun moved in to Taurus, had an immediate square to Mars, and then had a square to Pluto, April 23rd. I know it depends when you're seeing this. So the sun enters Taurus, squares Mars, April 20th, then squares Pluto, April 23rd, and it activates this ongoing struggle even more. The sun brings things to light, brings it to mass awareness. Also a fixed sign, fixed earth in Taurus. It's practical, simplifies, looks at what is going on and assesses it, and then challenges Mars and challenges Pluto. And you could have felt like you were stuck in something or feeling this energy quite intensely, especially if you have planets or points in the early degrees of the fixed signs. 0 degrees, the first decan really, 0 to 9 degrees is all in play here of the fixed signs. Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Pluto. I'm sorry, Aquarius. So the first decan is activated here. And if you have planets or points there, this is more personal for you. And this is actually bringing up some life-changing developments. That's what this energy is. Life-changing developments that could bring you to a breaking point. Because the fixed signs don't want to budge or move, and yet that's what this energy is requiring. Mars is about movement. The sun is about growth, development, confidence. Pluto is about working with the deeper layers of ourselves to evolve it. We haven't gotten yet to Black Moon Lilith, but she's here holding the pain in Scorpio, the pain of the emotional body, the spiritual energy as well. We'll get to her in a minute. But this energy of a fixed grand cross, grand square, is bringing up breaking points that are ultimately about breaking patterns. Breaking the patterns in the fixed signs. And these breakdowns can be collapses, death, not necessarily literal, death in an area of life, death of a life chapter, death of the ego, seeing something, someone for who they really are, seeing the shadows and the fears, understanding what is going on at a deeper level of our being, seeing it for what it is, seeing it in ourselves, which is where your power is. Your power is always in yourself. You don't have control over what others think or believe or say or do. You don't have power over that. You have power, which is the sun, over how you're able to manage what is going on for you and not allow it to affect the core parts of who you are. And as I tap into the energy of the sun in Taurus, I'm actually feeling, it feels really pure, like this pure, humble energy, like a simplicity, a humility that's rooted in how you're here to love yourself, even amongst the struggles and storms that are occurring. So however you're feeling this energy, don't let it affect your self-confidence, your self-esteem, and how you love and accept yourself. And that would be one of the healthy ways to work with this energy and to stabilize yourself, which is a strength of the sun in Taurus. So this third Mars-Pluto opposition is bringing up where we each need to break a pattern that no longer serves us, In fact, it limits us, holds us back, and is connected to a previous paradigm that is not in alignment with where we're going and what we're creating. Keep in mind that 2025 is about breakdowns, is about the deconstruction of what was, and that we're in the uncertainty of not knowing exactly how the new will look. And that's because we're creating it as we go. Nothing is certain yet, and that can be wonderfully hopeful. That can be a fantastic thing to understand, is that nothing is certain. So what do I want to build and create that's good for my energy, keeps me in harmony and peace in myself? Your internal peace is looking to be protected. And then over here we have Black Moon Lilith, who just entered Scorpio March 27th and stays in Scorpio until December 20th. And so how fascinating that she moves into Scorpio and she joins this ongoing conversation with Pluto and Mars. Now, I find that this Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio really gets to the deeper aspects of ourselves that we don't want others to see, because she connects to the underworld. And so she is in the underworld, feeling and sensing more of what is truly going on for her that she's ready to face. Black Moon Lilith is not an actual planet, it's a point. It's the apogee point, it's the furthest point from the Earth, the darkest point. And I'm just thinking about how her energy connects to what we clear out and what comes up during eclipse season. And this third opposition is happening within the eclipse energies. So what we have here is Black Moon Lilith in a deep remembrance of emotional energies she's experienced across lifetimes, and she's getting to the truth of how she really feels as she journeys through Scorpio. And her magic is in evolving it, but being comfortable in the underworld, being comfortable with the parts of ourselves that we don't want others to see, which is Taurus. Taurus is what is seen. It's above the earth. It's the flowers blooming, the trees growing. It's what we can see in our physical environments. And Scorpio is what you don't see, deep within the soil, under the earth, getting into the mulch, the understanding that these are the layers of your emotional body that can't be ignored at this time. And I feel that this Black Moon Lilith is guiding you to connect with the truth of how you're really feeling. And it doesn't need to look pretty or all together. It's a very messy underworld that is about pain, anger, rage. There is rage in this chart. When you're looking at Black Moon Lilith, this Pluto and Mars all here, there is deep rage. And then this sun in Taurus is trying to keep it together. And here we have the truth of what really needs to be expressed and felt. She's tapping into control, manipulation, betrayal, lies, what is operating outside of ethics, what is going on that perhaps she's experienced in other lifetimes. Scorpio is the Akashic records, past life healing, soul patterns, power dynamics that existed in previous energies of consciousness that now are being purged to the front, to the surface. There is a lot of discomfort here. There is tension, and you could feel stuck or stagnant in what do I do? What do I do? Because with the fixed signs, there might not be anything you feel like you can do. Again, this could feel like you're trapped or a cage, right? And so one thing you can do, first of all, is go to the middle point of the energy and sit there. I've shared this before. Sit there, and I know it looks like you're in a four-way traffic intersection. And in the middle, you're meeting each part of yourself through these energies, each archetype that wants to be seen and heard. So you want to listen to what this Mars in Leo desires to do. You want to hear and feel what the Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio is feeling at the depth of her being. You want to see what this Pluto in Aquarius is bringing up in your awareness. And of course, you also want to interact with the Sun in Taurus, shining a light on what is essential right now. So as you sit here, you welcome all the energies. That's the key here. You don't push it away. You don't ignore it. But you'll probably feel that one of these is stronger for you, depending on your chart. And you want to be able to acknowledge each of these as valid as you just sit here. Now, also in the conversation is Neptune, now at 0 degrees of Aries, 58 minutes. Sextiling Pluto, trining Mars. Neptune is in new territory, taking us into new areas of spiritual development that we are pioneering in this lifetime, moving us forward, also diminishing that warrior going to fight energy. That's what's going to be happening with Neptune in Aries, is it's working with our primal instincts. And he's talking right at Mars. Mars, I'm looking at you. There's a different way to handle this. There's a more creative way of working with these feelings, actions, desires. There's a more creative development here. And so I feel that this Neptune is helping Mars to slow down and not be perhaps so determined or reactive or stuck in his old ways. Because the Mars retrograde has been about changing Mars. Mars has had to evolve. Whether or not he does that is his own free will. It's almost like if this Mars has really understood his own emotional habits and patterns and the deeper energy he carries during his time in Cancer, and he returns to a heart-based Leo, a courageous heart that is loving, strong, and supportive, then Mars will venture ahead and be able to handle this clash with Pluto. But if Mars has not evolved and has resisted change, it's going to bring up more of his shadow. And this Neptune in Aries is saying that there needs to be a new path here. There needs to be a new pattern, a new approach. Otherwise, this Neptune floods out Mars. Floods him out, because this Neptune is more powerful, and this Neptune is also still in the ongoing sextile to Pluto. They've been in a sextile for over a century, but now it's stronger because the sextile is occurring through the complementary elements. Since Neptune is now in fire and fire pairs well with air. So I feel that it is this Neptune who actually holds an understanding that it's time to approach this opposition and this grand cross, fixed grand cross, in a new way that your spirit and your higher self is holding. 0 degrees of Aries, the beginning of a whole new cycle, being renewed and willing to see things in a new light. So if you feel that you're stuck here in the middle, you're stuck in this energy, you don't know where to go with it, I believe it's through the Neptune that is the outlet. This also applies to any planets or points you have in the early degrees of Aries and early degrees of Sagittarius. Because the early degrees of Sagittarius and the early degrees of Aries are going to be trining Mars and sextiling Pluto. 0 to 9 degrees of those fire signs. And the same is true for planets or points 0 to 9 degrees of Gemini, 0 to 9 degrees of Libra. Seeking new solutions, support, information and understandings to old patterns or old ways of being. This is an evolutionary upgrade that's taking us to breaking points so that we can trust a new approach that's actually gentler, wiser, and more spiritually advanced. Spiritually advancing through the turmoil. So I know this is a lot. We've covered a lot of energies, a lot of astrology. This is very dynamic. I'll be doing a podcast discussing Black Moon Lilith even more. That will be coming out on a Monday podcast episode. And then I'm also going to release another video for you here shortly discussing the Taurus new moon at 7 degrees of Taurus. We're going to talk about it from the angle of the new moon, but the Taurus new moon includes these energies. So consider it part of this ongoing discussion about the intensity of the end of April 2025. So I hope this has given you some things to look at in yourself and in your chart, as well as to acknowledge the fears, the shadows, acknowledge the parts of yourself that you haven't wanted to see. If they have been limiting you, acknowledge how you really feel. It doesn't have to look good. It doesn't have to be even something you share, but acknowledge it for yourself. Be in the truth of your feelings. Because again, Black Moon Lilith is here for the first time. 3 degrees of Scorpio, exactly squaring these two. She's meant to be a part of this conversation, to evolve our emotional bodies and our spiritual gifts. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back here soon with another video. Take good care.